Show with our top story. Victor Wembanyama, he suffered a concussion during the second quarter of Tuesday's Game 2 loss to the Blazers. This is the play right here. He was placed in concussion protocol. He did not return to this game. Now remember, the NBA has a minimum 48-hour period before the players can return to full activity, and Game 3, that is tomorrow in Portland. But we did get some positive news that Wemby is actually traveling with the team. So our senior insider, Shams Charania, he reported that earlier today. Shams, I know we got a lot of injuries to get to today, but I'm hoping we can start with some good signs here for Victor. What do we know?
Malika, this is very positive development for the Spurs and for Victor Wembanyama. Not only is he traveling with the team for Games 3 and Games 4 in Portland this weekend, but today he was present at practice and he was seen rebounding, shooting some light, doing some light activity, shooting some short-range shots. And I'm told late Wednesday, Victor Wembanyama also participated in cardio workouts because his symptoms did not worsen. And throughout all of this, he has to clear multiple neurological exams per day, which he has up to this point. But whether he's able to clear protocol in time for Friday's Game 3, that's obviously up in the air, very much in jeopardy overall, just from a timing perspective. But the Spurs are expecting to have a better understanding here tonight. And remember, Malika, in all this, the team doctor as well as a league third-party concussion protocol director are all involved in terms of whether he will be cleared and when that point will come.
Yeah, and very important because concussions, as we know, they can be very, very serious. But the fact, Shams, that he did get on the plane, that maybe tells me that there is some optimism that either for Game 3 or for Game 4, they're hoping he's going to be able to go. Thank you for that insight. I mentioned we got a lot of injuries to get to, so please do not go too far. As we welcome you inside our Los Angeles studios, I'm with a couple of seniors today. That is a senior writer in Ramona Shelburne and a senior front office insider in Bobby Marks. Ramona, you were actually there. Yeah. You were in the arena when Victor went down. It was really scary to watch on television. Yeah. How did it reverberate around the team?
You know, I think when we in the arena, I don't think a lot of the fans realized how serious it was because the way he fell, he kind of put his hands down and then his head onto his hands, and then he popped back up. I mean, you know, there was the one step where he stumbled a little bit, but then he ran off the court into the locker room, and you just saw this guy. You know, everybody knew he was hurt, but I don't think you saw the extent of the injury unless you were watching on television and saw that he actually lost consciousness for a little bit there. And I think the team might have realized as they were standing there, but then he popped back up, and that signaled to everyone, this is a man who wants to play, wants to get right back out there on the court.
I think the one, I wrote it down here, what Shams said, symptoms did not worsen. And I think when we look at it, it's almost like an hour by hour leading up to this game. Having a son who had a concussion in an athletic activity, you're kind of based on the hour. Yeah. As far as what's going to happen, is he okay? And then you basically deal with it leading up until the night of the game. Fortunately for them, they played on. They had 72 hours before this game to start. If the game was tonight, he's not playing. Yeah. Right. But I do think that is encouraging. But as I said, we're kind of on the hour as far as how he gets better with this.
Just the way that the schedule works out. Yeah. You got one time that you get 3 days between games, and it just so happened for the San Antonio Spurs it's between Games 2 and Games 3. So Game 3 is on Friday, and then Game 4, we have that as part of our Sunday afternoon doubleheader. First, it's the Cavaliers and Raptors, and then it's the Spurs and the Blazers. We're going to await the word on Victor's status for that one. Also, we have the Nuggets and the Timberwolves Saturday primetime. That's at 8:30 p.m. on ABC and the ESPN app. Let's get to some action on the court last night that we saw. The Suns, they hung around. Well, at least for the first half, right, against the defending champions. 3 minutes into the first quarter is where we begin. Watch here, he's bracing himself. He's bending his fingers, grimacing in pain.
Yeah, I didn't like how that looked, and then we all had to watch and see how he came through it because usually that's...
There are 5 minutes left here in the second. SGA still in, knocks down the jumper over Dylan Brooks. He had some hurt on the basket, aggravating that left hamstring. He checks out of the game, and he would not return. More on that in just a little bit, but we got more game to go. Midway through the fourth quarter, SGA drives. Once again, Bobby, past Dylan Brooks. Hits the jumper.
Well, they just come at you in waves. As soon as Phoenix gets a little bit...
Yeah, I believe him. I believe that great. Okay, the Thunder, though, they have a slightly better record in games without J-Dub this season. OKC went 18-1, right, in its first 19 games of the year while he recovered from that wrist surgery. But in the 30 games he missed later with the hamstring, OKC went 21-9. Still, though, I think that's a little bit deceiving. They need J-Dub in the lineup. Shams, as promised, we got a lot of injuries to go through today. So what do we know at this point about Jalen's status?
Like I'm told, J-Dub is undergoing an MRI today on that left hamstring. There's obvious concern when it comes to the hamstring, and this is the opposite hamstring that J-Dub injured. This one, my understanding is the Thunder will know more later today and then tomorrow as far as his status is concerned.
And you can see he immediately checks himself out of that game. Shams, thank you. We'll certainly check in with you tomorrow when we know more. Bobby, though, if J-Dub is to miss time, I think it's easy to say they're taking care of business against the Suns. When do you think that this team is really going to feel it?
Well, no disrespect to the Lakers or the Rockets, who would be their opponents in round 2, but I think it would be a Western Conference Finals, just based on whether it be Denver, Minnesota, Portland, or even San Antonio, of course, here. I think when you look at the body of work this year, they're 15-0 when Jalen doesn't start and you replace him with Case and Wallace in that starting lineup. So there is such a long body of work there as far as plug and play. But I do think, I mean, the playoffs are showing us is a bout of attrition as far as getting through day to day here. But I do think conference finals is where I would be concerned if he's not back in a lineup.
Well, they wouldn't have won the championship without him last year.
Right, that game 5.
That game 5. And I don't know if they can win it again without him this year. But let's just see how he comes through this injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And it did look, I'm hoping that this is minor, maybe something that's more like grade 1. Again, they have to finish out this series against the Suns, but they are taking care of business, at least so far. So injuries, that's part 1, right, of the story of this game. I think part 2 is that the Suns, they were not happy with the officiating last night. He was trying to save the ball out of bounds, but there's definitely a little bit of confusion on who exactly the technical was meant for. But let's just let Booker explain this in his own words. Yeah, Devin Booker, he isn't usually one who is saying things about the referees.
Right.
Before we weigh in on this, though, the Suns' Governor Matt Ishbia, he did say this. He had Devin Booker's back. He said, quote, "I am 100% behind Devin Booker. If the referees are going to demand respect from the players should demand respect from the referees. And when a referee is missing calls and clearly disrespecting the players, almost mocking them," he said, "they must be held accountable." Nobody who loves this game enjoyed watching that last night. So, Mr. Marks, you did your homework. You went to the tape.
I did.
You watched back every single foul from
this morning.
last
I
night?
did.
Okay, so
why
what
not?
did you
We have
learn?
to.
Yeah. What did you learn?
Listen, if a player is going to call out the NBA and the officials and basically say WWE, we've got to go to the tape. Well, 2 things are going to happen here. 2 likely things. Devin Booker's going to get fined.
Yes.
And the T should be rescinded, I think, for that.
I agree.
I agree on that. 25 fouls for Phoenix, 21 fouls for Oklahoma City. Not big of a differential. If there is a player that has gripe, it's probably Colin Gillespie, who was whistled for 4 fouls, and I think 2 of them were questionable. He counted. I think the word probably is annoying, right? As far as how they draw contact. Listen, if Ramona, put your arm out. I'm gonna put my arm out, and that's going to be a foul because they know how to bait you into calls there. And it's not just Oklahoma City. We're going to watch Jalen Brunson do it tonight probably in New York here, but they know how to draw fouls, and they're the best at it.
And you saw those 2 plays, like they were kind of back-to-back, where Devin Booker goes up, Alex Caruso leans in, okay? And you see Alex Caruso leaning in, but look at where his hands are. They're down. And I think that's a really big difference between the next play where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has the ball and his hands are up. Now, Chet's not even looking at the basket there. That's one of the calls you're talking about with Colin Gillespie.
Yeah.
But there's a play that goes right back where SGA goes up against and his hand is out. And so when your hand is up and you know how to draw that contact and you know how to exaggerate that contact, you're oftentimes going to get that call. But Alex Caruso's hands were down. So I don't think that should have been a foul on Booker, and I don't think it should have been a technical. But I see how the foul was called on the other side.
Right, and the frustration is mounting for the Phoenix Suns, who were able to stay in it, especially in the first half. They were taking care of the ball. They were limiting those fouls. And so once it started to catch up with them a little bit here, we saw that just unravel. And I think that's, Bobby, where you get the frustration.
Well, and the funny thing is, when you watch the game again, Phoenix was probably at a B level. They played pretty well up to a point, but they come, as I said, they come at you in such different ways. And, you know, a 10-point lead gets to 20 all of a sudden, and a lot of it is attributed to some of these fouls that were called.
All right, so we have the Suns who are down in that 0-2 hole, and we take a look at the entire bracket here against the Oklahoma City Thunder. In the rest of the West, right, the Lakers, maybe surprisingly, because, again, injuries, that war of attrition, as you're talking about, Bobby, are up 2-0 on the Rockets. And then you see the Nuggets and the Timberwolves all tied up at 1-1. Interestingly, though, Aaron Gordon, he was downgraded to questionable as he's dealing with injury now. And then 1-1 for the Trailblazers and Spurs as that series shifts back to Portland now. So injuries has been the name of the game here, Ramona. I do want to check in on the Los Angeles Lakers, two of the biggest stars that we haven't seen yet in the playoffs. Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic. What do we know?
Well, both of them are on the court, right? But one of them is actually doing a little more, and that's Austin Reeves. And so I think there's a sense, we just passed that 3-week mark from when he first got injured. We're coming up on the 4-week mark, and the initial time frame was 4 to 6 weeks, and I think there is a chance. He's still got a lot of hurdles to clear. There's still benchmarks he's got to prove that he's healthy for. There is a chance that he could come back either later in the series or the next time. He's closer, from what I understand, than Luka Doncic is.
Okay, so Austin Reeves a little bit closer here. Hey, we got a lot to get to in this show, though. Still to come on NBA Today. Why don't we check in on those Detroit Pistons? Cade, Detroit bounced back in a big way last night. What fueled Detroit's turnaround, and can they carry that momentum into Orlando? Plus, as the series shifts to Minnesota, don't miss our feature on the connection. It's so sweet between Anthony Edwards and Timberwolves superfan Luca Wright. And earlier today, AJ Debinsa, he officially declared for the NBA draft. King McClure, he's going to join the show to tell us about the latest prospect rankings. NBA